Hey there, this is Ree. Welcome to my new channel. Today I will be reading The Family That Slays Together, Chapter 1 by AestheticAcoustic, which is a Camp fanfiction. By the way, trigger warning for any of you. There's a lot of violence in this, and there is not safe for work content, so if you are listening to this in a public space, I'd advise using headphones. I'll begin now. It started with the barn cats, more specifically a group of brand new kittens. "We can't keep those around," his father had said. "Too many mouths to feed, and they distract Cat from killing the mice." He gathered all the kittens when Cat finally did go off to hunt. Wrapped in a towel, he carried them into the woods on the edge of the farm. David tagged along. He wasn't sure why. Curiosity, maybe, though he already knew it was going to happen. His older brother had told him about it before. They had to get rid of the kittens, and their father would do it as humanely as possible. 5 gunshots later, there was nothing left but a few headless bodies and a lot of blood. David stared at it, transfixed. "Are they dead now?" His sweet voice and cute face made him look oh so very innocent. "Yup, they're dead now," his father nodded. The burly man smiled and patted his young son on the head. "You're a tough boy, Davy. Your brother screamed the first time he came with me to do this, and he was older than you are now." David smiled, elated to have his father's praise. Within a week, there were more kittens, seven, courtesy of Cat, the other cat. All of the barn cats and wild cats were called Cat. They weren't pets after all, just hunters to keep the mice out of the hay bales. "Can I do it this time?" David asked sweetly as his father grabbed a gun. The man smiled broadly at him. "Well, well, my little man, I'm certainly glad one of my boys will make me proud." From the living room, Jonathan barely spared a glance over the couch, then returned to sketching at his new sketch pad. It was all he'd asked for his 12th birthday, and despite his father's avid protests, their mother bought it for him, along with some nice drawing pencils. The father grabbed a smaller gun along with a large sharp knife, and they headed out. Same as before, they wrapped the kittens in a towel and carried them to the woods. Father laid them out side by side and handed David the handgun. "Aim for the heads. Try not to miss, or it'll just hurt 'em." David took aim, being careful to keep his arm steady. He didn't want to disappoint his father. It was a good thing they'd done some target practice together before. The first shot left a spatter of blood against the ground. The little gray kitten was missing a good chunk of his head. David's heart was pounding. He smiled. 2.5 weeks later, there was a third and final set of kittens, just 3. David found them first. He'd bundled them up in his shirt and took them far out into the woods. This time he used a sharp pocket knife. He didn't kill them quickly, like his father would have wanted. He wanted to hear them make noise and feel their bodies squirm. When he was done, he buried them in a shallow hole and rolled a big rock on top. He washed the knife in the creek and went home. His heart was racing and his smile was unwavering. 3rd grade started that fall. The other kids were wary of him, as always. David had never really known why, but he thought perhaps they were all aware of how bad he could really be. His mother always said, "Kill him with kindness," though, and that's what he did. Always smiling, always joking, always so very, very friendly. By the end of the year, he'd made a few friends he thought could visit over the summer and continue to be pals with next year. Maybe he'd even show them what he did to the kittens. Maybe not. The summer after 4th grade, his father took them both hunting for a while and a first time. Jonathan had always refused to go, but with David old enough and so eager to go, John had been forced to come with them. He stayed silent in the back seat, his arms crossed and his eyes gazing out the window. David bounced in the front seat, overjoyed. This was going to be the best trip ever. The entire 2-hour ride, their father told them hunting stories and spoke excitedly about how eager he was to share them with him. A bonding experience, father to sons. John was apathetic. David's small body could barely contain his excitement. They arrived at a small lodge with a room for about 6 people max. Their father took one room and John and David shared another. Neither were able to sleep that night for very different reasons. David had never been up so early in his life, but his excitement kept him up and running. John didn't leave the room until someone brought him coffee. Even still, he dragged his feet, only doing much of anything to get ready when their father yelled at him. Within an hour, they were sitting high up in a tree overlooking a high-traffic area. David was having a tough time staying silent. It was well worth it, however. A buck and doe walked slowly by. Jonathan refused to shoot. David didn't hesitate when given the okay. The shot rang. The buck screamed and stumbled and fell. David laughed. 4 kittens, the firstborn of the season. David had long since earned the task of dealing with them. He carried them out into the woods and didn't shoo Cat away as she hurriedly followed. When he laid them down, she licked them and settled onto her side beside them. It was cute. Cat went first. A quick slice down her neck made her choke and spasm, but it was a pretty quick death. The kittens went one by one, some more slowly than others. He moved each animal into a shallow pit in some bushes near the creek. In a few weeks, he'd come back to that spot to collect whatever bones were cleanest and add them to the small collection in one of his drawers. The caps flew, and that was that. David quickly located his and plopped it back onto his head. Through the crowd, he found his family standing in a shaded area of grass. "There's my high school grad," his mother cooed, bringing him in for a hug. "That's my boy." His father clapped him on the back. "You really are a man now, and you've made me so proud." "Thanks, Dad. I can't wait to start work." He was overjoyed to have already been hired by a local campsite as a counselor. It was an excellent excuse to keep hunting animals. He'd even get to teach kids to do it too. It was the perfect job for someone like him. Someone not quite right. Jonathan offered his hand. "Congrats, brother." "Thanks." David wrapped him in a hug instead. John returned it, whispering so only David could hear. "I really hope you stick to murdering cats and not campers." David reared back, wearing a shocked expression. John knew about the cats? "You're a good man, Davy." His father grabbed his shoulder and shook it affectionately. "I can't wait to see what kind of grandkids will give me, especially since you're the only one we can count on it for." He trailed off, giving John a pointed look. John scoffed. "I've told you I'm not gay, I just like theater." "Either way, I doubt I'll be seeing any grandkids from you." "Whatever." John rolled his eyes. David was silent. His first day at camp was exactly what he'd expected to be. He met other counselors, several kids, and got the grand tour of the layout. Camp Woodstack was exactly where he wanted to spend the rest of his life. Nature was at his doorstep day in and day out. A number of animals wandered nearby, and some even through the camp at night. The perfect place to continue doing what he loved, murder. Thank you, guys. If I made a few mistakes, please forgive me. I don't have any editing software, so this is all in one take. And yeah, that was my first reading, and I will be doing chapter 2 probably pretty soon. Bye!